Yo, what's up? So it's been a while since we've done one of these, and I was like, I need to just do something just to get out of the inertia because I was getting super lazy. So, what's going on, everybody? Like a lot has happened, I feel. But yeah, I just want to check in. House cleaning, house cleaning. I'm so out of practice. What's the house cleaning? Yeah, champagnesharks.com is the best place to go. You get links to everything, all of it. Go to patreon.com/champagne sharks though if you want to become a member. Hey Sean Breezy, how's it going? Um, you know what else too? We now offer annual subscriptions and you get like a discount. You get a discount if you do the annual subscription. So you can do 12 months of bonus premium content at once and you get like I think it's 10%, maybe 15% off. I actually forgot. Sorry about that. But yeah, so even if you're already a member for $5 a month, you can still upgrade and do 1 year. And I think 1 year becomes $54 instead of 60. So it's a little more than 10% off if you do if you do no, I think it's exactly 10% off actually. Yeah, so you get 10% off if you do the whole year at once. So, consider it. Open an extra tab, go to patreon.com and become yeah, so Red Shrek was like, "Hey, I'm already a patron." But hey, even if you're already a patron, if you're doing monthly, you want to do 1 year, by all means, put that Christmas money to good use, Hey, Ariel Garcia, how's it going? How you feeling? Outlook, how you doing? Young Stokely, Jeffrey Corley, Red Shrek. Hey Fatima, how you doing? Been seeing Fatima all around Clubhouse. Hey Jinx, Salam, I'm Breezy. Oh yeah, another thing is, if you're a patron, by all means, hit us up on the Discord if you want to join us over at Clubhouse because we're trying to get a lot of Champagne Sharks fans over on Clubhouse. So yeah, if you're a patron, hit us up on the Discord. If you don't know how to hit us up on the Discord, then go to champagnesharks@gmail.com and write me letting me know that you don't understand it, or better yet, DM us directly on Patreon. That's actually better. Forget about the email. DM us directly on Patreon. Let us know, hey, I'm a patron, but I can't get on Discord. I can't figure it out. And basically, once you're on Discord, we'll give you an invite to the app Clubhouse. For people who don't know, the app Clubhouse is a voice room app, but it's pretty cool because you can hold like panels and seminars. So we've been doing some good rooms over there with the fans. And it's different than live stream because a lot of randos and different people can come on, and you never know who's going to come on to your uh, voice room. But it's been pretty good for anyone who, yeah, eh, Outlook's not lying, man. Clubhouse is biased against Android users. Yeah, but I'm gonna say this: if you've got an iPhone or any other type of Apple product that runs on iOS, not a desktop, of course, but if you have like an iPhone or an iPod Touch, I don't know if they still even make that, but you can get Clubhouse through that, even with your Android phone. Because I have some friends who have Android phones, but they got on through their iPads. So you never know. You might be able to, yeah, you never know. But you get from an Android or a MacBook. You can't get on from an Android or a MacBook, but if you have other ways, you can definitely do it. Um, I don't know what stereo is. Yeah, but Clubhouse is like this voice voice social media based service. So it's kind of like talk radio. You can go into different rooms on Clubhouse and you can go into different rooms on Clubhouse and then but it's invite only, it's curated and it's only for iPhone users. So you can go to Clubhouse and go into any voice or chat room that you want or create your own voice and chat room. So we had one about diversity. I Sound Info and I had one about diversity, training. We had one about, is Kamala Harris black like me, and is that even a productive thing to ask? And we had some other ones. I forget what the first one we had is, but so you can start your own conversations and you moderate it, and you can call people on stage. There's an audience section. People in the audience can't talk, but there's a stage, and the stage is all the people who can talk. So, and above that level is the moderator level. The moderator is on the stage, is often the person who created the room, and the moderator has the option to make other people moderators, and the moderators have the right to call people from the audience to the stage and send people from the audience back to the stage. So you get all types of things. There's a lot of celebrities on there too. It's well, this is one thing. Oh, on Android, I'm T. No, sorry. On Clubhouse, I'm T as in Thomas, B as in boy, EAUL as in lemon. So that's TBEAUL. Um, the good thing about Clubhouse is you have to use a phone number to sign up, and they encourage real name policy. Not that it guarantees it. A lot of people don't use the real name, but like 90% of the people use a real name, or if they're a public figure, they use a name that they're well known under. And then between having to use your voice and most people using their face and name, and having to invite people using real telephone numbers for the most part, uh, the trolling and botness is way less than Twitter. Honestly, I think as it gets less curated and more people get invited, and also when they eventually open up to everyone, I think the tone's going to change. There'll probably be way less trolls, way less invites. Yes, Wonder Woman raped a man, very much so. Um, yeah, so it's not really like Reddit, because Reddit is like bot filled. You can create like 10, 20 people. Same as Twitter. Like Twitter's more like Reddit than um than Clubhouse is. Like I'm telling you, the fact that it's hard to create dupes and bots and anonymous things, I think really helps. But also I think trolling with your voice takes a lot more nerves. I think that screens out a lot of people. So, oh, thank you, Gabriel. I I need compliments because quarantine's a bitch. Get no feedback from anybody, but no, you know what? I've actually been taking care of myself and sleeping more and drinking 100 ounces of water a day and actually watching what I eat. So that's good. Um, y- yeah, but yeah, it's more like Discord, but randos can stumble on you if you title your rooms right. So what makes it good is that you get to create extra. You get to create. It's better for publicizing. Like a lot of people have found champagne sharks through Clubhouse. But if anybody's interested, no, I never had COVID. Where are you guys coming up with this stuff? No, no, I was saying that I just been taking care of myself. It's been no. If I had it, I don't know. But yeah, if you sign up for, if you become a patron at patreon.com/champagne sharks, we're giving out invites to people there. We're just sharing invites because we have like a whole bunch. Oh yeah, I fixed the new Champagne Sharks episode on SoundCloud like almost immediately, just in a couple of hours. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't broken for very long. That was my own fault because I was editing myself and I rushed it. But I want to talk real quick about Wonder Woman 1984 and also Soul. I Wonder Woman, I think I'm going to watch that a second time to give a real proper review because I want to do one of those real plot holes. That thing had so many plot holes that I think I'm not going to do it justice by just going off the first time. It was bad in a way that was so crazy that it kind of got fun. Like it was kind of fun to me and how bad it was. it's been a while since I had a so bad is good thing to watch, and that thing just didn't give a fuck. It was like I don't give I don't give a fuck at all. Yeah, no, I won't lie. I got a little burnt out, but then on top of that, I was doing Clubhouse a lot. But I'll be honest, I just got a little burnt out. But I'm actually going to do the opposite, which might be a bad idea. But I'm going to try to stream every day for a while. Um, I'm trying to do what I did last time, where I streamed like every day. I'm going to do another thing like that because there's so much stuff to talk about, and there's so many people who I want to have on who have accepted to come on, and I'm like, I can't do that all through the podcast. And I feel like the live stream is a great way to have a lot of people on to talk about recent stuff without having to have it get dated, by doing it on the podcast. Because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about with Jimmy Dore, AOC, and all this kind of stuff that gets dated like in a couple of days. I feel like we're in a pretty exciting time with both the lead up to Joe Biden, but also the first 100 days. I feel like the first 100 days is going to be a lot of stuff going on. I also, yeah, it's too much. But this is the other thing. It's not always going to be like an hour or more each time. Like when I say every day, some days are going to be as short as like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Like it's going to be every day, but one day it can be like 3 hours. One day it can just be like 5 minutes to talk about something or whatever. Yeah. So it's going to play it by ear. Yeah. But don't think every day, like 2 hours, I'll die. You'll see me deteriorate in real time. Yeah. Oh man, but Clubhouse has a I don't even know what this means, but I'm laughing. Uh yeah, Clubhouse has a lot of LLC Twitter and a lot of crazy like grifter Twitter too. And some intersectionals try to go on there. Like some people come on, they try to do a black men or trash room here and there. But the one good thing about it is, unlike Twitter, where people will retweet and vomit their opinions at you, whether you want to see them or not. Clubhouse, you don't have to go into any room you don't want to go to. So it all comes down to your willpower with avoiding clickbait. Clickbait, like the first couple of days in Clubhouse, I was a sucker for the clickbait. People put the clickbait titles like, black men should die, and you go in there, but you get used to it real quick, and you stop just clicking the clickbait. So there's a lot of ADOS versus uh non-ADOS diaspora war stuff. A couple of them are interesting and constructive. Most of them are just repeating the same points over and over again and fighting. You get used to that. You stop looking at it. The LLC, multi-level marketer, Twitter, crypto Twitter, Beardo Twitter, those rooms are there. You just ignore them. And if you don't like, what you see, you can be the change you wanna see and just do it. Uh oh man, yeah. That is kind of bleak. I'm gonna watch it though. I'm sucker for movies like that. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's kind of weird. Like when I was doing um streams every day, like the follower count was jumping a lot. So we got like 1,000 followers really fast, and then I slowed down, and then it just like started going up to like a crawl. And I'm starting to realize like I hate this. It's weird to see a problem but also realize like it's kind of unavoidable. And that's we live in the era of content. Like for I don't know why, but uh people just like a lot of content. That's just what they like. And I think yeah, I'll check out stereo. I'm just afraid of getting addicted to even something else. But somebody was in a room that got taken. Yeah, there's a lot of clickbait and there's a lot of clickbait on Clubhouse. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, realtor seminars. Yeah, people came into our room with a realtor seminar. It was pretty funny. Oh, and they got something else too, man. Filibusters, like every type of filibuster you can imagine is on Clubhouse. By filibuster, I mean like they just pop in, they just pop in and they just don't want to stop talking. And there's different types of filibusterers. You got the filibuster who only has one thing to say, but either doesn't know how to wrap it up, or their problem is, if I just say one sentence, it's not going to have weight. I got to sound like I'm pontificating. So I'm going to take this one sentence and spread it out into a 5-minute speech. So it'll be like, if someone's complaining that they think ADOS is homophobic, they'll say something like, yeah, so I've discovered a lot because we're all black, and everybody's black and everyone gets along, but not all black is the same. And what I realize is a lot of ADOS, I'll be in rooms and the mood is like, I'll face some homophobia and I'll be in spaces, where like brown and black LGBTQ bodies aren't respected and they aren't given uh room to hold anyone accountable. And what ends up is you'll find a homophobic person, and then a homophobic person will say all types of stuff that makes it clear they won't even represent or acknowledge straight voices and straight ways of thinking. Therefore, as a queer identifying person, I feel like I'm not welcome. It's like, okay, you're just saying you think they're homophobic. That's a 5-sentence. That's a 5-word sentence. Like, you sound like you're building, but you're just restating the same thing over and over again. So like that's one type of filibuster. The other type of filibuster is a person that just has something they know and they want to show off they know it. So they have to steer every conversation so that it snakes through every piece of expertise they have. So I had one about whether voting is worth it. And one guy walked it back to Bacon's Rebellion. And we had to keep trying to rein him in. And we kept trying to ask him guiding questions. And he'd start with the question, but still take it back to like he was taking stuff like, we're asking if voting was worth it in 2020. And somehow he was taking it back to like the Mayflower. Like he would just try to find a way to go through every single that's the second type of filibuster. And the third type of filibuster is the one who wants to have a debate but doesn't have any follow-up points. So they just keep restating the first point and even interrupting with the first point. So sometimes they can be combined. Sometimes people combine two filibusterings into one conversation. So in the ADOS room, when the guy was talking, when there was that person trying to call ADOS homophobic, he was doing type 1 and type 3 filibustering, where the first filibuster was just making that one point, that one 5-word point, I think ADOS are homophobic, and spreading it to 10-minute long speeches, where it's just restating the same sentence with a lot of padding and restatement, right? And then yeah, Ison Info was there. It was like he didn't need the rest of us. He was just pontificating. He's a cool dude though. He's a really nice dude. I like him in other contexts. He just couldn't stay on topic. But um the other thing, yeah, so this guy was doing the first type of filibustering. We kept repeating the same thing. I think ADOS are homophobic, just in a million different ways with different vocabulary and circular stuff. But then whenever someone tried to respond to them, like Yvette Carnell was in the room, tried to respond to them, they would keep so they were like, oh, some people are, but that we're not responsible for everyone, but we try to check those people, or we try to quarantine those people or expel them. And also there are plenty of LGBT in the movement, so we can't be anti-LGBTQ because there's a lot of out and proud LGBTQ and bringing them stuff. And the first person would keep interrupting, like they were trying to correct a misconception or respond to one of the counter arguments, but it would just be the same original point. Like, yeah, but I go into rooms and there've been ADOS who have been anti-LGBTQ to me, and I just think there's a lot of anti um LGBTQ people in ADOS, and I meet a lot of homophobic people and this that. So it's just the same original thing that she responded to, and the person would keep cutting her off. not to respond to her new points, but just keep restating the same points. And that's the second type of filibuster. Like, I'm acting like we're having a conversation, but I'm not actually responding to anything that you're saying and continuing the conversation in any direction. I'm just restating my original argument over and over again as a response to your responses. So I'm actually not incorporating anything you say. So it's like, um, 2 + 2 = 5. Well, no, actually, 2 + 2 = 4. I hear what you're saying, and I get it, and I respect what you're saying, but 2 + 2 is 5. No, actually, you see here, 1 + 2 + 3. Yeah, that's all fine and good, and I get that. I really do, my brother. But I also, was just trying to make clear, and don't misunderstand. I was just trying to say 2 + 2 is 5. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, let's try it a different way. And no matter what you say, no matter how many different ways, you get like a Stanford mathematician in the room, and you know every single response is just gonna be just like they try to win the argument by just refusing to acknowledge that you answered the point. So no matter what you say, this is the worst type of filibuster on Clubhouse. No matter what you say, they act like you weren't able to respond to the point. Like it's almost a deficiency in your argument. Like, yeah, okay, so you got a mathematical proof, yeah, but what you don't think you understand my point. Like, my actual point is 2 + 3 = 5. Like, that happens a bunch too. Um, yeah, yeah. Oh, and the other type of filibuster too is the yeah, I'm gonna keep it quick or I'm about to go. Like, soon as someone says, this is black people in general, whenever a black person tells you, um, yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but they're gonna take up all your time. Guaranteed. There's like 1 out of 10 people ever says in Black Clubhouse, um, yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. I know there's people waiting behind me, and then actually it doesn't take too much time. I don't know why that is. Like, it's gotten to the point, soon as somebody says, yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. So leave with that, I start clicking the timer. I'm like, this motherfucker's gonna talk. And if they got a middle-aged voice, forget about it. Middle-aged black men who say, yo, I don't want to take up too much time. I know there's people here. Most talking ass motherfuckers. I'm telling you. Yeah, yeah, I have to go, but let me say this. Yeah, forever having to go. Like, uh, there was this skit on Lil Jon album with this guy who wouldn't get off the phone, but he kept acting like he was gonna get off the phone. And Clubhouse has a lot of people like that. That's the other person. That's the fifth type of filibuster. Like, so the fourth type is the one who announces how they don't want to stay on the phone because it's wrong to do. They don't want to stay on the phone, and they proceed to stay the fuck on the phone, right? But then the other kind is the one that, and this happens a lot, and a lot of times it's number four, or it could be any of the first four. But when you start moderating actively and you tell them, look, okay, you're gonna start wrapping it up, and then the person turns into number four. The person goes, oh, my bad, my brother, my bad, my brother. Don't worry, I'm gonna wrap it up now, and then you just start over all over again. And then you tell them, no, your minute's gone. You have to be done. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So let me just say in summation. So like I was saying, then to go right back. Oh yeah, it can be really really draining to beyond Clubhouse sometimes when you're moderating. But once you get used to it, it's not bad. It's not bad. Once you get used to it, it is not bad. So yeah, if you want to become a member and join us over there, because we have some constructive conversations there. If you want to join us, go to patreon.com/champagne sharks. And then we'll invite you there. Oh yeah. I have a statement and a question. Yeah. Yeah. That is there's so many. There are some Malachi York type uh Hotep pontificators. They have all types. But yeah, once you got a Yeah, a lot of people say, long story short. Long story short usually means short story long. Like I'm telling you, like that story did not need to be that long. Like that story, short story long is that first person I told you about that it could be wrapped up in 5 minutes, but they found a way to make it sound deeper than it really is and go on like forever for it. Yeah. Yeah. Long story short is usually short story long. Oh, here we go. I have a question, but it's kind of a comment. Yeah, that's another one. That happens a lot. Statement in the question. There's nothing actually wrong with statement in the question. I'm just laughing because it's something that people do say a lot, but that can go either way. Some people say statement in the question, but they really just say a statement in the question. Like statement in the question isn't as bad as I'm gonna keep it short because I'm gonna keep it short. Like statement in the question is just funny because it's something you recognize a lot. So you're like, oh, that's a laughter familiarity. But I'm gonna keep it short. That's annoying because it's an actual lie. I don't know if they really believe that they're gonna keep it short, and that's the way of kind of remind themselves to do it, or if they're just straight up liars, like this motherfucker has no idea, but I'm gonna talk his ass off. But let me throw him off. Like I don't know if it's deliberate or not, but they abuse. Yeah. Oh, but yeah. Going back to Wonder Woman and and the other one. So Wonder Woman raped a guy. Like it's fucking crazy. She raped a dude, and they just act like it didn't happen. Like she and like look. You ever like see like investigation discovery or read about serial killers? You got those like serial killers where they're like couples, and the couples would do stuff like kidnap girls and then rape the girl and kill them or something like that. That was like a big trend with like with serial killers and stuff, where like couples that serial kill, and sometimes the girl is helping. They're like the couples that search for threesomes, except with serial killing. You know what I'm saying? And Wonder Woman and her dead boyfriend from World War One, Steve Trevor, basically use a magic stone to roofie a guy, and then they have sex using his body. I mean, it's basically they have sex with an unconscious man's body, and the guy is just animated, and Steve Trevor just animating this guy's unconscious body. And I brought that up to some people, and then there were the same people. Some people were like, "Well, who wouldn't pay to get raped by Gal Gadot?" It's like, shut up. Like, it's not like the point. Like, the point is like, the picture saying that for a guy, like, oh, uh, Brad Pitt roofied a girl. Oh, well, who complained? That's Brad Pitt. Like, I don't know why guys say stuff like that, but yeah, yeah. So it was really weird. It was like this is spoilers, so let people know that there's spoilers. Because call me crazy. I'm one of those people. If I don't want no spoilers to a movie, if I see a Twitter thread and it says, "Hey, I saw this movie," I'm like, okay, move past it. Or if I see a YouTube video that says review of X movie, if I don't want spoilers, I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna read that thing. But there are like some weird people that they'll be like, "Hey, here's a 2 hour review of this movie." Then they'll click in it and they'd be mad at the spoilers in it, or they'll go deep into a Twitter thread of a movie that's like 10 years old and complain that there's spoilers. So, I don't want those people around. So there's gonna be spoilers, right? So, um, like the movie's weird. It takes place in 1984, and it opens up with a shopping mall, right? So the shopping mall is there, and there's a guy. There's a couple people robbing a store at a shopping mall, and first things first, I don't think the first Wonder Woman was that good. The first Wonder Woman was super average, but this was in a very tough point. This Wonder Woman, because the first movie was so kind of overrated that people, I think, kind of had high expectations for this one. And to a lot of people, they felt this movie was a letdown from the first one, whereas to me, the first one was only marginally better than this. So there's no like, disappointment for me. Like I call it the catch 22 fallacy, right? And what's here with Catch 22, a lot of times when there's a book or a movie or a TV show that everyone thinks was so amazing, and they're always wondering, why did the person never capture this again? Why did they never come close? I always think that's a Catch 22 fallacy where the first one was not really as good as everyone allowed themselves to think. So, of course, the later ones aren't going to reach that level because the first one was never even that level. And then, God forbid, the later ones are actually worse than the first ones to boot. And I call it the Catch 22 fallacy because I feel that way with the book Catch 22. Catch 22 to me is a very, very average book. It's like a vaudeville Catskills comedian routine that went on too long. Like, it's just a lot of corny Borscht Belt uh really corny Catskills Jewish humor, the Catch 22. But because that generation at that time was against the Vietnam War, it became this giant protest novel that I think a lot of people overweighed because they felt it really was hitting all the targets that they hated at the time, which is the military, bureaucracy, um, the Vietnam War, and all this stuff. And so it's become like a super elevated book, but the book it has some funny bits, but it can really be like a 50-page novella. Like the shticks just go on way too long. It's just not really I also think it's that great a book. It's just a very average book. But then everyone kept always asking, why was he never that great? And then even he kind of fell victim to it. And he's like, a lot of people uh got mad at me. The author of Catch 22 is like, a lot of people got mad at me for never writing anything as good as Catch 22. And but how many people even write one book as good as Catch 22? And I'm like, motherfucker, you didn't write a book as good as Catch 22. You know, you're the author of Catch 22 because the reputation in that book, you did not deserve. That book was just extra okay. Like, you yourself never even wrote the Catch 22 that people claim you wrote. Like, you just wrote like a Borscht Belt novel that somehow got elevated into this like super protest. Man, I never forget when I first read that book. I was like, this. Well, anyway, I think Wonder Woman's like that. Wonder Woman, I think everybody was so happy that it wasn't Suicide Squad and the Zack Snyder movies like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. And plus it was about a woman. So there were a lot of people who wanted that feminist pop culture movie to hit, and Lady Ghostbusters wasn't it. Like, it was a perfect storm. Like, it was the redemption of the Lady Ghostbusters fans, and it was also people who were just saying, just don't be as shitty as the Zack Snyder film. So the movie was just baseline competent to me. Like, there's one really good to me fight scene that takes place in the middle of the movie. You had to sit through an hour of boredom and a wardrobe change, then sit through another hour of boringness, and then a really bad CGI fight, like one of the worst ever. But you get one good action scene in the middle. And even that action scene, they have to use like a stunt person in CGI for everything. Like, Gal Gadot apparently cannot do a single stunt. Like, just a simple slide kick. They got to put like a stand-in or a CGI. It's very weird. Like, I'm not saying everyone's got to be like Tom Cruise and do all your own stunts. You know, um, yeah. Like, I'm not saying like you have to like do all your own stunts, but I mean, like, you can't do any. The only person worse than that, I think, was Sarah Michelle Gellar on Buffy. Like that, if Buffy sneezed too hard, they put a stunt person in there. Like, I mean, I never say anything like it wasn't as bad as Sarah Michelle Gellar in Buffy. Like, I don't know if she's arthritic at in her 20s or what, but hey, Charles, what's going on? Much love. That's the way to ring out the new year. Much appreciated, Charles. Yeah, I didn't even pass around the tin cup yet. I didn't do the whole hit the super chat or whatever. Oh, and here's a new thing too. If you do the super chat, Katie Halper does this. It makes a lot of sense. If you do the super chat, we'll always read the comment to the super chat within reason. You know, so don't just start paying super chat just to, like, throw in like some anti-Semitic or some kind of crazy shit, or start dissing the host. Like, yeah. But if you donate to the super chat, so Charles said, "Happy New Year and an awesome 2021 to the CS fam." Well, knock on wood. I feel like it can't be worse. Famous last words. I shouldn't say that, but hopefully it won't be worse. I think we have nowhere to go but up. Hopefully, but yeah. So anyway, the first Wonder Woman, I thought was just a very okay movie. First off, we have a superhero movie with like only one good fight scene for like 5 minutes. Like that's to me, you already kind of failed. Like I don't want to watch superhero movies to see a romance. Like they don't do any of that stuff well or anything. Like superhero movies should be like powers and fighting. And Wonder Woman just like really boring. Like it. First off, this woman can't even learn an American or neutral accent. So she's speaking with her Israeli accent. Then they make every other woman on the island match her accent. But not everyone can do that accent, I guess, or they don't have an ear for it. So you got some people sounding Transylvanian, some people sound Romanian, some people sound like Eastern European strippers, some people like that accent is just a real mix up. Like only like one or two people actually nailed an Israeli accent. People were just showing up with whatever accent they had in their back pocket and being like, maybe no one's gonna notice. I don't know, but I'm like, I get she's pretty, but is she that pretty that you have to like sacrifice everyone else's accent? Like, and they brought like Linda Carter back in as for a cameo in part two at the end. And when Linda Carter came out, I was like, why is she talking like that? And I said, oh, she's trying to sound like Gal Gadot. So you got even the OG. You bring out the OG, and she's got to conform to your stupid accent. Like, oh, yeah, it was annoying. Like just hearing everyone try to put on that accent, and they couldn't get it. Yeah, so yeah, well, it was even a whole Transylvania stripper island. Like it was a mix. Some people sound like a Transylvanian. Some people sound like a Romanian stripper. Some people sounded like an Israeli. Some people sounded. Everyone sounded all over the place, and it was just driving me nuts. And I'm like, why don't you do what the old movies did? If you watch your old movies, a lot of times they didn't even care. Like if you watch Gone with the Wind, there's a Confederate guy who's supposed to be like in his 20s. He's like clearly middle aged. He's got a British accent. Like nobody cares. Just let everyone on there with a real accent. Like I'd rather have that than like a bunch of people aiming for an accent and getting it wrong. Like yeah. So if you watch Gone in the Wind, the guy that plays wait, Trevor Howard. Like Trevor Howard looks like he's you know uh 50 and he's got like a tired British accent. He's supposed to be like Ashley, the guy who played Ashley. Yeah, the island of misplaced accents. Yeah, and people talking about making excuses for yeah, or do a Schwarzenegger. Like, who cares with the accent? Just like ignore it. Like in Street Fighter, they had the American character Guile played by Jean Claude Van Damme. They didn't try to make America French. Like picture Street Fighter. I mean, every American speak with a Brussels accent to match Jean Claude Van Damme. You go into Texas and it's like sacre bleu. Yeah, they just ignore that he had just do the same thing with Gal Gadot. What is that? That thing was nuts. So I mean that's from the first movie. So anyway, the first movie I didn't think was all that. It just didn't suck as bad as like it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you can go 10 minutes at a time without a glaring plot hole. But it was the same old boring hero's journey stuff. The first one. It was I mean, that thing isn't great. They had some fish out of water comedy scenes from the 1980s movies, where she has to change clothes and stuff like that. There's nothing particularly great about it. I mean, even with this one, when it was so bad, everyone's like, "Oh my god, how did you fall so high from the first one? It was so great. This is inexplicable." I'm like, dude, this is like two notches below for the first one. This is not. I don't know what the first movie is. Uh, I bet you if we rewatch that first movie now, you'll be like, "Huh, okay," Yeah. So, yeah, Pedro Pascal was carrying that movie for sure. Kristen Wiig, I liked. I thought Kristen Wiig did a good job with what she was given. Like The character was written stupid. First off, they've been doing that character for so long. The bad guy that's like a super nerd and gets pushed around by everybody, then becomes the bad guy. Like Jamie Foxx did that with Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Electro. Um, Michelle Pfeiffer did it in Batman Returns, but Michelle Pfeiffer killed it. Like Michelle Pfeiffer was such a good Catwoman. Like who cares? Whatever. Plus, it was one of the first ones to do it, so you forgive it. Uma Thurman did it with Poison Ivy and Batman and Robin, where she's super nerd, she's pushing up her glasses, and then suddenly she gets the powers, and now she gets a personality change. Like this was note for note. Like this movie was Superman 2, Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, and like a bunch of other movies just slapped together. It was really weird. Like it was reminiscent of a bunch of other movies, but in a bad way. Like the hero that has to lose their powers or they have to choose their powers and their responsibility to the world or choose the person they're in love with. That's Superman 2 through and through. Right? So that Superman 2 thing where Wonder Woman was going to lose her powers if she would lose her powers if she stayed with Steve Trevor. Or she could give up Steve Trevor and get her powers and save the world. Spider-Man 2 had the same thing within Dr. Octopus. He was losing his powers. And all the same thing. So it has like the Riddler. That was another one. Jim Carrey as the Riddler, same thing. Super nerd who gets some kind of transformation, and now he's like a villain that's like really sassy. Yeah, so it had that thing. I'll give Kristen Wiig credit. Like she looked great. A lot of people talk about how good Gal Gadot looks, but I thought Kristen Wiig looked pretty great, especially for her age. Like, I thought she looked good. But and that she acted good given what she was given to do. But yeah, Save the Cat. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing was just formulaic. The first one was formulaic too, but at least this is one of the problems they had. They got Jeff Johns from the comic to write it. And one of the things I always say, like, you should not get DC comic writers to write movies and stuff because I feel like people read Marvel and DC comics, but especially DC because DC's been bad for like 10 years now. Like, you can't really tell if someone's a good writer based on how good they do at DC because I feel like people who buy like a lot of DC comics, they'll just buy it because it's in continuity and it's got the right characters in it. So but what you need to appeal to a mass audience who doesn't read comics is very different. And I think that's why Marvel does correctly. They don't really try to get a lot of the comic writers to do it because I feel like comic fans are like a built-in, they're an addicted audience. So they have a lot of tolerance for what they'll do. And as long as you give them Easter eggs and stuff, I notice Marvel movies don't lean on comic writers too much, but I feel like DC is always trying to get like Jeff Johns in there. And I think what people tolerate in the comics, they just don't really want. So this would have been the okay DC comic, or this was a DC graphic novel. If you said it was in continuity and it had Wonder Woman in it, there'd be a certain amount of people that would rave about it, but oh yeah, Guy Pearce in Iron Man 3, same yeah, same trope. So I'm sure there's probably a lot more we could think of. So anyway, the first one is just okay. Like I said, she knows a guy for 2 weeks, and then she can't sleep with anybody else for like 70 years, and she's traumatized for 70 years. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like this guy must have been slinging some incredible dick because there's no way that, I mean, I don't know. Was it because she was a virgin? So she just never knew what a penis was, and then it just blew her mind. She had no idea this guy was like super average in bed. Like that's what I was thinking, maybe because she was always on the island. So maybe this guy gave her her first piece, and she's been alive. She's like a 5,000-year-old like virgin. Has her first penis and just goes crazy, and no one ever tells her like, hey, that dude was extremely mid, or you have like it just blows her mind. She goes like 70 years, and even in part 2, they even say that. They even say the guy even says, there's other guys out there. I'm not that great. Like what is it about me? So on top of everything, she's like some kind of creepy stalker or girlfriend that just never gets over. Like, you ever meet someone that talks about someone that they never got over? and how bad the person was, and all this stuff. And then you finally meet the other person and get their side, and they're like we dated for a week. Yeah, yeah. She, she was someone said she was dickmatized. I don't know if you meant dickmatized, like hypnotized by dick, but I think dickmatized, like as in victimized. It actually she was victimized, like she was victimized by the penis, and someone said she's a femcel. Yeah, I mean, no, but she's choosing not to be laser. She's a vol cell. She's a female vol cell. Like, so yeah, she just won't date anybody for 70 years, does not do anything. Any guy that comes away, and she's like a raging bitch to them too. Like any guy that comes away, I don't like you. No, leave me alone. Like, she's just way over the top. And then um every dude, first off, except for Steve Trevor, the guy, the white nationalistic military man from 1918 is the most enlightened guy she's ever known. Like, this guy has everything on paper to be a chauvinist, a racist, an imperialist. Somehow, this guy was the most enlightened guy she's ever known. But in like liberal ass Washington D.C. in the 80s, every guy's like, all right, he's my dick. Like everywhere she goes. That's just every guy. Rah, 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 yeah, my dick. That's all everyone is doing. Like she said, it's fancy dinner party. I think it's for the hospital. Oh no, for the museum, the Smithsonian, right? With a bunch of bureaucrats and everything. And these guys are even the guys in tuxedos. Like, it doesn't matter. You could be a drunk guy in the park, or you could be archaeologist in a museum. But everyone's like this here. My dick. Like everywhere she goes. But the 1918 guy, the World War One, that wasn't even the good war where people could pretend like they were fighting for to save the Jews or whatever, or fight the Nazis. Like, even though a lot of that's exaggerated what they were about the nobility of the cause, but I mean, this is like World War One. This guy is you know a fighter bomber, but this guy, he's the most feminist guy to ever exist, the most enlightened guy. Like he's basically like a Tumblr bro. He's a male feminist, and in the 1918 military, white guy. He even had diverse friends. They show him hanging out with like the United Colors of Benetton. Like, and this is a great point. How was DC in the 80s so white? Like, Washington D.C. was 70% black in 1984. They used to call it Chocolate City. This was They gentrified 1984 Washington D.C., which was pretty funny. But yeah, anyway, every other every guy in 1984 is a raging chauvinist. Here's my dick. Like kind of guy. But in 1918, everybody was the most upright type of guy there ever was. In that movie, everyone was pretty much very respectful and whatever. So yes, what happens is Steve Trevor ends up. She gets a wishing stone, and the wishing stone just by dumb luck. Like, the wishing stone shows up, and then they discover in 5 minutes that it's a wishing stone. Like, how often you just grab something and coincidentally make a wish on it, But someone's holding the stone and happens to make a wish, and they figure out like in 5 minutes, it's a wishing stone. So Kristen Wiig wishes that she was more like Diana, and then she starts getting superpowers and stuff. And then Diana wishes, like, she could wish for anything. She could wish for world peace. Like, she's a superhero or whatever. Well, to her credit, I guess she didn't know this was a wishing stone, and she had one wish, and the wish was that important. So I'll cut her some slack. But anyway, it's almost 70 years later. She's still wishing for that one piece of dick she had. Like that's what she's thinking about. She had 70 years to find the second one that good, but it just wasn't happening because they everyone since has just been rah 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 rah. Here's my dick, like all the time. So she wishes. Steve Trevor comes back in someone else's body, and now there was no need for this to happen. There was no reason. Like, this wishing stone does such blatant magic later on that there is no reason the wishing stone just couldn't have created a new body for Steve Trevor. And there's nothing in the story that necessitates him having, like, it's one thing if they gave Steve Trevor this other guy's body, like Steve Trevor wakes up in this other guy's body and apartment, and that could have been good if they did a whole comedy of errors in it. And that's what the movie Soul was like. The movie Soul actually has a body switching plot, but the body switching plot is important to the hijinks and the confusion that happens. So there's a reason for this. This one, Steve Trevor wakes up in another man's body, and it doesn't really matter. Nobody cares that he's in this body. You as the audience can forget he's in this body because they never really show you the guy's face except for like 5 minutes. For the first couple of minutes, you see the real guy's face, and then they show you Steve Trevor instead. So you have to imagine that he's the other guy, but you and the audience, and presumably even Wonder Woman after a while, only see Steve Trevor. So you might as well have just been Steve Trevor's body, right? The only thing that making this a guy possessed by Steve Trevor instead of Steve Trevor's body himself, the only thing that adds to the plot is an unintended rape storyline where basically this guy in this party where everyone is just accosting Diana and just drooling and 5 seconds away from pulling out their unit. This guy goes with Diana and says, "Hey Diana, can I speak to you?" And she's like, "Leave me alone, stop following me, I don't know you." And then he reveals that he's Steve Trevor. And then she's like, "Oh my God, Steve," and then at that moment it switches from looking like the guy to Steve Trevor to let the audience know it's Steve Trevor. And for the rest of the movie, that's all you see is Steve Trevor. For like a split second here and there, you see the other guy, but it's basically Steve Trevor. The first thing she does, she doesn't go, "Oh my God, how long are you in that guy's body? Like, where did that guy go? Hey, I'm a superhero, and I might be responsible for this. I'm worried. Did you wipe this guy out? Is he permanently dead? Am I responsible for the death of a human being?" Yeah, Wonder Woman understands that. She doesn't care. She's not like, "How do we get you out of this body, return this guy to his life? Or what does this mean? Is this going to happen in the rest of the world? This is a super villain plot." She's not really worried. They go back to his place. They just have a fun laugh at the fact that Steve is in this guy's body. Right? It's like a big joke. They make fun of the guy's body for having a little bit of a belly. You're like, "Oh, I guess this guy let himself go." They make fun of his clothes. They try on all his clothes and mock his clothes. They mock the apartment and it's not clean. It's like, bitch, he wasn't expecting a body snatcher and his girlfriend to be in his apartment. Like, give the guy a break. But totally nonplussed, doesn't care. So the only thing that happens by putting this Steve Trevor in the guy's body is that they just make her look like a raging asshole, and Steve Trevor too. They're just in this body, laughing at the guy's apartment. Then she proceeds to bang him in the guy's body. So the two of them basically rape this guy's unconscious body. They're the creepy couple. They're the creepy threesome couple. They're creepy threesome date rape couple. And for like a week, she's just banging him in his body, and there's no concern about where's this guy's family. Does he have kids? Is he divorced? Does he have a girlfriend? Is anybody missing him? Is he ever going to come back? So the central dilemma of this story about choosing love with Steve Trevor or choosing her powers and saving the world, because it turns out the wish is a monkey's paw. So if you choose your wish, you're gonna lose the thing most precious to you, right? Um, so the problem with this central conflict, right, is with when Superman had it, right, when he had to choose between losing his powers and staying with Lois Lane or keeping his powers and fighting the three from Krypton, there wasn't the extra wrinkle of, hey, by the way, if you stay with Lois Lane, you're killing an innocent person that may or may not have a family. Like, once you put that in there, then it's not really a choice. Like, Superman had to be a super selfish asshole to still stay in that body. So it's like that's the thing with Wonder Woman. She's acting like she has this choice. Like she's seriously considering choosing Steve, which means keeping him in this guy's body for the rest of this guy's natural life. So she's basically, and she only decides against it because Steve makes a choice for her and pushes her. And plus, the world's getting destroyed. She has to get her powers back. So she only um chooses her powers because Steve basically says, this is not right. And plus, she needs to save the world, but doesn't give a fuck about the original guy. Once she releases the wish, because I released the wish, Steve Trevor's off screen. You don't even know what happens to the guy's body. Like, they don't even bother to show you. Like, so this guy wakes up in the middle of a war zone. He was probably in his apartment. He wakes up in the middle of a war zone in Washington, D.C. a week later while things are blowing up around him. No need to see him. Nobody cares. He doesn't matter beyond being a human receptacle for Steve. Right? So, whatever. What's funny is later on, they have a quick scene where he shows up again and now he's back to normal. And I swear, I'm convinced, just by how weird the scene is and how jarring it is, I think maybe they filmed the whole movie and never ever showed the guy's point of view at all. And then maybe in front of test audiences or in front of someone who read the screenplay, they realized, oh wow, this is really effed up. We gotta let people know that he's okay. Like like people gonna wonder what happened to him. Is he traumatized? So there's a scene at the end where Wonder Woman's like hanging out in gentrified flea market, Washington D.C. in 1984 somehow, and the guy just rolls up next to her and is like, he doesn't remember anything, so just coincidence. And he's like, hey, how's it going? And they have a small conversation, and Wonder Woman's kind of laughing, and it's a scene with a superhero. When a superhero like saves the day and then they're around the civilians and civilians don't know who the superhero is because they're in disguise. It's kind of a wink at the audience, like, like say the civilians going, wow, good thing we have Superman. And then like Clark Kent goes, yeah, good thing, huh? And he winks at the audience. It's supposed to be like one of those scenes. But because we as the audience know that she was date raping this guy for a week, her kind of winky demeanor when encountering him just makes her look rapier. It would be like if you had somebody, it's like a guy had a girl unconscious for a week and was just having sex with her body for a week and he got away with it and she wakes up and she doesn't know. And then there's a later scene in the movie where they run into each other in the street and they just meet. And then the guy's like smiling, like, and kind of like if only you knew. It would look really, it wouldn't work because it would look like he's, bragging about, first off, having them re-meet again and be friendly would be hugely sexist and insulting. But then having him being like kind of winky and remembering everything while the girl isn't. So to me, it looks like Wonder Woman's like, she's looking at the guy and the guy's like talking about his outfit and she's looking him up and down. She's like smiling and it just looks like she's saying, yeah, I had you. She just looks like a giant, she looks like a giant creep. And she's acting like she's considering like, he's not bad. Maybe I would mess with him after all. They kind of acted like she was gonna ask the guy who she raped while she was body snatched to a date. Like that's gonna be a romantic ending. But thankfully they didn't, because that'd be even creepier to like date rape a guy for a week, then go on a date with him without even knowing that you were his rapist. Yeah, so they just kind of separate ways, but she is clearly kind of checking him out and considering and looking him up and down. And given the post date rape, he just looks even creepier. But yeah, oh, that was just a weird movie. Um, there's a scene where Kristen Wiig is fighting Diana, and it wasn't bad. Like this movie actually had more action than the first one. I mean, the action wasn't shot great by all means. The movie looked kind of cheap, to be honest. It looked expensive and cheap at the same time. If that makes sense. You ever bought anything that it looks expensive but looks cheap at the same time? That's what this thing is. Like it looks like someone spent a lot on it, but the actual quality of the clothes is bad. That's what Wonder Woman 2 is. Um, Yeah, so the CGI is like really weird, and it's that weightless CGI. You ever see? There's a lot of CGI where the people can't give things proper weight. So when things are jumping around, they look like little Mexican jumping beans. Like a lot of the early CGI had it, and a lot of CGI still has it. But some things some people are able, like the Spider-Man Far From Home movies. I have to give them credit. They did a good job of giving him like realistic like weight. Uh, no, but this thing is like the old Harry Potter movies. Like everything is just jumping weird. It looks like a weird video game. Whenever they have to fight, and they're doing the same thing as part one, where they have to CGI um Gal Gadot doing everything. Uh, yeah, it's very weird, right? They tried to make Kristen Wiig as the cheetah as short as possible. Like most of the movie, Kristen Wiig is just looking like you know, a hot nerd. Like she's fighting her as Kristen Wiig, and Kristen Wiig did an okay job. Like there's a lot of quick cuts. There wasn't a lot of great shot action. Over the weekend, I watched that Sylvester Stallone movie Cobra, and one thing that was shocking in the age of practical effects, Cobra by no means with imagination was a good movie. It was written terribly and whatever, but there's car chase scenes and fight chase scenes that are so coherently shot, and they're done with practical effects. It's one of the best car chase scenes I've ever seen, and the fight scene was, and it reminded me when I was watching it. Wow, in the '80s, thanks to practical effects, even a lot of like mediocre movies had a baseline competence. Which now you can have movies that have like a half a billion dollar budget and really expensive, but everything looks like a bad video game, like the Justice League movie. Yeah, so they keep the cheetah scene as short as possible. And my dude, I swear when they finally showed Cheetah, she looked worse than that CGI movie Cats. If you've seen the movie CGI Cats, like it looked worse than Cats. Somebody argued with me, oh, it wasn't as bad as Cats, but I'll argue it was worse than Cats, and this is how you can tell. Cats, for all its flaws, they shot it in pure light. Like they shot it in pure brightness. They were like, this is what we did. Take it or leave it. I mean, this is a 300-watt bulb in this room. It's daytime. So you can see all the flaws. But Cheetah and Wonder Woman looked basically marginally better, but they did everything to hide it. What I mean by that is, if you remember the movie, she shot in total darkness. It's a scene at night, and they never show her in full light. She's always covered in shadows or half obscured by something or moving in a blur. It didn't really make much sense, but I'll get to that. It didn't make much sense. Why she changed, but they had her obscured in darkness most of the time, right? And they wouldn't show a close up of her. Um, they show her underwater, so you can't see her clearly then. And she's moving like a blur, and she's always dark, and she looks almost as bad as Cats, which makes me think that if they were to have the balls to show her head on and in full light, she would look worse than Cats. Because say what you will, Cats put those cats in the most unflattering light possible. This was them trying to do everything they could to obscure how bad it was. And like it didn't even look like Kristen Wiig. Like to the point, I don't know if Kristen Wiig was ever put in a costume or if the CGI was totally was all of the cheetah scenes. But if you look, when they show close-ups of the cheetah's face, it doesn't look like Kristen Wiig. It doesn't look like Kristen Wiig with cat fur on. Like I was thinking they were going to use a mix of a practical costume and effects, and, like Beauty and the Beast with Ron Perlman in the '80s, and a mix of CGI. But I think Cheetah might have been full CGI all the way through. The fight's not particularly good. Like things make no sense, right? Steve Trevor, there's a plane on display at the Smithsonian. This plane at the Smithsonian is for display. It's a fighter jet. It's not meant for real fighting. So chances are it doesn't have a full tank of gas. But even if it had a full tank of gas, to go from Washington D.C. to Cairo, Egypt, do you know how much fuel that you need to do that? But basically, Steve Trevor, who hasn't flown a plane since 1918 when they were like mechanical. I don't even think that plane was even electrical then, right? Um, he hasn't flown planes since 1918. He could fly a 1984 fighter jet with no training. Like basically, if you know how to fly a plane in any time in human history, you can fly a plane anytime. So the Wright brothers could have been in this movie flying fighter jets, right? He just hops in this fighter jet that's at the Smithsonian. She basically just steals from the Smithsonian with no problem, which is where she works. And then she's flying to Cairo. They're gonna take a fighter jet. Even if this thing has a full tank of gas, there's no way this thing. I mean, you know how much fuel a passenger jet has? Like, there's no way this fighter jet has enough to go all the way to Cairo. And then while they're flying to Cairo, she didn't think it through the fact that there was going to be police, people with guns, radar, until they were halfway in the air. She realized, oh, wow, there's radar and all this stuff. She goes, oh, wait, let me think. And she pulls this power out of her ass. She starts doing magic, which she's never done in any other movie before or since. She's just doing this hand magic like Harry Potter. And it's this like fire, she has this like ball of energy like Goku. She's just whipping up this ball of energy in her hands. And she goes, yeah, I haven't tried this in 50 years. You know, my father used to make Themyscira invisible, the island, but I've never tried it. It's for anything but a coffee cup, right? This is the first time trying this thing. And she's only been able to accomplish it in a coffee cup. And in the heated battle, in the moment, she's gonna try it for the first time. It's the first time in 50 years on a full plane, and she pulls it off. She makes the plane invisible. This was all written just for an excuse to have an invisible plane in the movie, because Wonder Woman in the comics used to have an invisible plane. And this is what I'm saying the problem is with having comic book writers write real movies, because for like a DC comic book fan, and you'll see it if you go on message boards, that's a worthwhile scene. Like if you write a whole scene just to pay homage to something that happened 50 years ago, to a lot of like DC comic fans, that's a good use of 5 pages. Like you can make a whole book of just references to stuff that happened in old books, and that'll be 5-star reviews among comic fans, right? Um, Especially stuff like Geoff Johns does. Like Jeff Johns just has a bunch of references of stuff that happened in the Silver Age, but now he makes them murderers. Like he might have like Superman's dog with the cape, but now he has rabies and he eats the villains. Like like that's all like Jeff Johns does. He takes Easter eggs and whatever, but then he makes them like hardcore. Yeah. They so she makes the plane invisible, and now at this point she's been losing her powers. So she's been losing her powers for like a long time, for like the past week, and they show it. She can't even break a lock. There's a lot of little things that she can't do. So how is she able to hit a new high, a new peak with her powers when her powers are declining? 50 years ago, remember Wonder Woman 1 was about 70 years ago. So 50 years ago in 1984, that's 1934. So even after the first Wonder Woman, after she's a full-grown superhero, like 50 years ago doesn't mean she's a kid. 50 years ago means she was already more advanced than the first Wonder Woman. So after Wonder Woman 1, after the peak of her powers, she couldn't do this just sitting around doing nothing with a coffee cup. Now her powers are almost gone, and she's in the heat of battle, and it's the biggest thing she's ever tried, a whole fighter jet, and she nails it in like 30 seconds. You know what? Maybe it's adrenaline. I don't know. The whole thing made sense. So they got their thing in there of a invisible plane. Jeff Johns gets to do his Easter egg to the Silver Age or whatever. Doesn't make a difference because later on she learns to fly anyway. Um, and she learns to fly just from like a speech that Steve Trevor gives her about how planes work. He says real quick, like it's all just air. So she remembers, oh, it's all just air. Boom, she's flying. Then they imply maybe she's flying because she's gliding on air. They kind of make it seem like maybe she's gliding. But first off, you can't. She's gliding across the globe from like DC. Like, there's not that much gliding in the world. You can't glide across an ocean. Like, she goes overseas to fight the bad guy gliding. So that makes no sense. But on top of that, they show her moving her arms and going different things. She's accelerating and slowing down and changing direction like Superman. So she's clearly straight up flying, which then brings up the point: why was she not flying in Batman versus Superman or flying in Justice League? Like, did she just forget? Did she not want to make the others feel bad? So I'm like, she can do everything. She's basically as powerful as Superman, and she could even fly. Which then raises a second question. Like in Superman, in Batman versus Superman, like the whole reason Batman has a mat on to kill Superman is because this guy is the most powerful thing ever. And he goes, if there's even a 1% chance he might go bad, that's 1% too much, and then so this chick is Superman too. Like, and he's just hanging out with her at dinner parties and like, watching watching QuickTime files of her doing her thing, and he doesn't seem bothered at all. Like it's this is weird that Superman's mere existence bothers him like to death. That he has to wage a whole campaign to straight up murk him. But Wonder Woman has basically all the same powers, and it's perfectly fine. So she's basically like a goddess. This makes it clear she's just almost as powerful as Superman. And now she can fly on top of that. Why is she not flying in the Batman versus Superman movie? Why is she not flying in Justice League? Maybe she didn't want to hurt their feelings and show off too much. Maybe she wanted not show off to Superman, whatever. But it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand anything about this movie. The bad guys face no retribution. There's no, like, everyone renounces their wish, and they kind of act like, hey, no harm, no foul. Everyone renounced their wish. But the thing that makes no sense about that is there's some movies where that happens where everyone renounces their wish, but in those movies, they can reverse time, and the world happens as if the whole adventure didn't happen. So the whole thing is almost like a dream. This is not that. And I'll tell you how. When everyone renounces the wish, all the damage is still there. Um, the people in the military base, there's all these nuclear bombs launched because for some reason this wishing this wishing chain of events somehow causes riots to happen and all the nuclear codes get launched. It makes no sense how this wishing fiasco leads to that, but basically every single nuke is in the air, and there's the military men in the base, and when everyone renounces their wish, the nukes disappear from the screen, and then the military people comment that they're all gone. So clearly everything happened. The renouncing of the wish just takes away the effects of the wish, but the damage is done, which also renders the question: people who were wished dead, did it come back to life or what? But basically, that means everybody saw the destruction happen. Everyone saw the near apocalyptic moment that happened. Everyone saw the nukes in the air. Everyone saw the mayhem. Everyone saw that. Everyone saw Max Lord, the villain, on the screen talking about, give me your wishes and everything. Everybody saw their wishes come true. So they know it was not a dream. So even if he renounces the wish, he's liable for so much damage. Like the world is in. So why are they acting like just renouncing the wishes just boom fixes everything? Like It's just a really poorly thought out movie, and which would be excusable if it's 90 minutes. But this is a 2.5 hour movie. And I'm like, how can you have 2.5 hours and you have this many unanswered or poorly thought through questions? Yeah, someone said it was a Care Bear episode. Totally true. Yeah, totally true. Um, really, really bad. It was it was crazy. But yeah, I mean, Wonder Woman's a raging asshole in this. I mean, she doesn't really care about anybody. She's a jerk to everyone. She only saves the guy who's possessed because not because the right thing to do, but because Steve goes through a second time. No pun intended. And it's just yeah, it's really weird. And this guy has to touch people to make their wish come true. He turned himself into the wishing stone, right? That's his wish. Now he has to touch people to make their wishes come true. And then once you make your wish, he has the power to decide what he extracts from you. So he decides what the monkey paw thing is, right? Which to me is not well established. Doesn't make sense, but whatever. Okay, I'll buy it. So, um, if you wish something with him and he makes it come true, he gets to decide what he takes from you in exchange, and that's the equivalent exchange. But the whole movie, he has to touch people to do it. On one In one scene, he decides or figures out, wait, I can touch people by TV, and he decides to do a global international broadcast to the whole world and get the whole world to wish at once. And somehow touching them by the TV waves or electronic waves is the same as physically touching them. So mind you, up until now, he had to physically touch everyone. Now, by some plot convenience, he can do it. So he finds some kind of station or something that will broadcast to the whole world. Now, here's my question. It's 1984. Like, there was no World Wide Web. Everything was still dial up. There was not even like real cable TV, really, like what we have now. Like, what global broadcast can you do in 1984 that shows to the whole world? I mean, people are watching this on their computers, they're watching it on TV. Like, how can you even do that? Like, what cameras, what show, what channel exists that, like, how, like, there's no computers. You can't hack into, like even using fake movie signs, there's no internet. Like, how are you doing this? Everyone in the world is watching this broadcast. People with bunny ears. And someone said time zones, also the time zone. Somehow everybody's awake. The whole world's in the same time zone, right? In language, like you're speaking English. You mean tell me why is everyone able to understand you across the world and do this wish? Yeah, yeah. So there's a whole bunch. What about people who wish for their dying relative to come back the way she did, or people who wish for um, their cured, no, their sick, cancer-ridden relatives to be cured? So these people get those wishes because the movie takes the conceit that everybody wished for something bad, but you mean tell me nobody wished for something good? Not a single person. So it's like because then this ending, because first off, with the person who wished for good, are they really going to renounce their wish? And the second thing, if they did, you know how much trauma would be in the world too? Because I refuse to believe every single person wishes for something selfish, right? Um, so basically, the point of this movie is everyone in the world selfish, and Wonder Woman's selfish too. But for a split second, she remembered not to be selfish. Uh, but by then, she already raped the guy for a week. That's pretty much the moral of this movie. The movie has the weirdest moral compass I've ever seen. But anyway, um, Cheetah makes it seem like there's no consequences for her. But the Cheetah thing I can't understand because they kind of, again, they didn't make it clear. But the idea I got was that when Cheetah made the wish, her wish was to get the powers, but what she lost was her goodness. So the way I took it, it wasn't Cheetah's fault that she became evil because the stone made her evil. So there's a case for her being let off free, but the Max Lord thing, I'm not really sure why he's gonna get let off free, but they make it seem like he pretty much is. That despite all the bad things that he did, it doesn't matter. So there's no consequences, there's no stakes. Um, I mean, there's a lot more wrong with the movie, but I don't want to keep nipping forever. I mean, I think you get the point. Yeah, but I mean, Steve Trevor, I think, is more heroic than she is. Like Steve Trevor, um, is the one that kind of pushes her to do the right thing, give the guy back his body, even though he's marginally better than she is because he still banged her in the guy's body, and his reason never included, hey, maybe he's messed up. I'm in this guy's body. It was to save like the world, but whatever. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the action, like I said, wasn't that well shot. The CGI was terrible, and tonally, it was very weird too. Like the first third of the movie feels like the Richard Donner Batman movie. It's a little bit campy. It's a little bit tongue in cheek. It's bright, and I started thinking, okay, this movie is not just set in the 80s. They're trying to make it feel like a 1984 movie. So they're trying to actually go for the Christopher Reeve Superman tone. So the first 20 minutes, I dealt with it. But then it turns into a different movie in the middle when Kristen Wiig gets involved. And again, Wonder Woman is just like a jerk to everyone in this movie. Even when Kristen Wiig, she mentioned she hasn't had a date in so long. When Kristen Wiig is talking to Max Lord and she says that she likes him, she clearly likes the guy. Wonder Woman basically barks at him and runs him off. Like, she's just annoying. And um then the last third of the movie, they try to get deep and they show like all of a sudden Maxwell Lord, the villain's whole past. They show Cheetah's inner pain and all this stuff, but the first 2/3 of the movie did not earn it at all. The first third was like 1980s camp tone in the mall. And this is the other thing. Wonder Woman has been arrested in 1918. The Holocaust and Jim Crow and lynching and all that stuff and racial terrorism in America, none of that inspired her to come out of inaction. But a bunch of people robbing a store in the mall, that's a bridge too far for Wonder Woman. Like, look, you can have gas chambers and you can kill Blackie, but nobody fucks with the mall. That's it. This is war. So this makes no sense. The whole thing is inconsistent. Makes no sense. And I think that at some point they must have given up on tying into the um what's his name? Zack Snyder movies. I think maybe the Zack Snyder movies are no longer canon. So that's their attitude. I think the attitude of the Zack Snyder movies is who cares if things conform to them. So I think that's why she flies now. And maybe in their world, she's been getting involved in everything. Maybe she's been getting involved in World War II and um Jim Crow and all this stuff. And so maybe the mall thing is just one in many steps for her. But as far as we know, the Zack Snyder stuff is canon, which that she's barely done nothing ever since. So basically, our takeaway is she did nothing since World War One, except for the mall and the world was about to blow up. And also, if the wishes are undone, but the memory of the wishes remains, which is what seems to happen based on everything else that happens in the movie. How does no one know who Wonder Woman is by the time of Batman versus Superman? Like, so everyone just forget this giant worldwide broadcast that happened in 1984 somehow that almost destroyed the world. That time when all the nukes were launched, and Superman's old enough to have been alive in 1984. Like that wasn't a part of his movie in Man of Steel. Like, where was Superman during the day when it all went wrong, right? Like if this movie exists in the Batman versus Superman Man of Steel universe, it makes no sense that this huge moment happened, but the world didn't know about superheroics or magic or anything. Like the world of Man of Steel, was a world where no one knew extra paranormal stuff was possible. So you mean tell me The world almost got destroyed. Wonder Woman broadcast through the magic lasso through the rest of the world and basically saved the world. And then Batman, the world's greatest detective, has no idea that a Wonder Woman exists or that superpowered people besides Superman exist at all. So it's like, I don't know. If they're going to have this be a part of that other universe, then none of this makes sense and they have to explain it. Or if it's not going to be part of that universe, they need to make an official announcement somewhere because, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And some of that, I think they assume she's going to be secretly doing good things the whole time. Maybe, but then it contradicts the movie, which is that she's been out of action because she couldn't get over that first piece of penis that she got. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a great movie. I could nitpick more stuff, but I've gone on too long. But you know what's crazy? I would watch it again. It was fun in a kind of bad way. It I thought it was more watchable than the first one, even as bad as it was. Like this thing is Mystery Science Theater 3000 bad. Like I could have people over the house and rewatch it the same way I used to watch Dolomite over and over whenever I'd guess. I think you could probably find new bad things each time. Like in a strange way, I kind of enjoyed how bad it was. Like you can talk to all your friends, and each of you finds different plot holes. That's something that's happened. Like there's been so many plot holes that I missed that other people found. It was okay. It was fine. I mean, it was still too long though. But then there was Soul. Soul I was not crazy about. And a lot of people I know and trust like recommended Soul to me. It looks beautiful. The craft in Soul is amazing. They made the New York subways a little too dirty though. Like I know New York subways are dirty, but they really overdid it. Like I think that's probably how New York subways look to people who aren't from New York. So they really overdid it. I mean, the level of grime and disgustingness. I mean, to see like that fake New York subway in 4K being so dirty. I mean, that was the only thing I would say as far as the design goes. But I mean, it looked really like New York. Like the Astoria part really felt like Astoria. They really did a good job in capturing in New York. I like the design. A lot of DreamWorks face, that smug, smirky type of. But that's all DreamWorks Pixar stuff. This was Pixar, but I just didn't really like the story. Oh, thank you, Colin. Much appreciated. Always and if you want to donate too, donate in the super chat. Hit the super chat or do a super sticker. That's always appreciated. And also forgot to keep this on the screen. Sign up for patreon.com for Champagne Sharks, either $5 for a month or $54 for a year. You get bonus episodes, you get newsletters, you get access to the Discord. You also get while it's still in beta testing, when they open it up, this won't be an incentive, but you get invites to the social media app Clubhouse. If you become a patron, just contact us. If you can't figure out how to do it, we'll hook you up. Yeah, Soul was okay, but the messaging was really weird. I didn't like the writing, and I couldn't take Tina Fey's voice. I could not take Tina Fey. Oh, the third blade was the worst. I'm sorry, that was really bad to me. Colonel Corvo Gaddafi, this is your most controversial take yet. Saying that the third one was the only half decent one. No, the third one was bad. But yeah, so Tina Fey's voice was just and that's weird, right? They know. Well, I was worried about the movie because I'm like, if you're the kind of person that thinks putting Tina Fey in something is a good idea, I don't really trust your decisions in general, right? So I'm like, because someone was like, just ignore that it's Tina Fey, but I'm like, no. But if they decided to put her in the movie, that type of thought process, I just don't trust for the rest of the movie and the rest of the choices. And sure enough, the movies had a lot of bad choices, right? And they point out that Tina Fey's white woman voice is annoying, and that's called hanging a lampshade. Hanging a lampshade is when you point out something yourself that's problematic or silly about your work in a way to disarm the critics. And I always think hanging a lampshade is kind of like bullshit because you pointing out that it's an annoying choice doesn't erase the fact that it's annoying. Like it just makes it more annoying that you put the annoying choice in there because now, on top of the annoying choice being there, you've let me know that you did it knowing that it was annoying and you did it anyway. Because I guess she has star power or whatever, but I don't know if the character of 22 was just super annoying or if knowing that it was, I think I said Kristen Wiig, I meant Tina Fey, knowing that it was Tina Fey's voice, I don't know if that made it the character so annoying. Or I don't know if it was both. I don't know if the character was written annoying and it was Tina Fey's voice adding extra annoyingness to it, but I just couldn't take the character. And then I'm thinking the black guy is the lead. So I'm like, okay, the character is going to be like, the bird in Lion King or Sebastian the crab in Little Mermaid. It's going to be secondary, but no, she is a full-fledged co-lead. Like she's in half the movie. She has a ton of lines and she just sounds like Tina Fey. Like, this is just me. I'm just like, I don't like that dry white woman humor. Like, dry white American like lib humor is just really bad to me. Like British people do the best dry white humor because they go full fledged stiff upper lip British dryness and they have the full wit and the darkness and the snarkiness and the whatever. Whereas I feel like when Americans try it, it's not as good as dumb American humor, which I think American is good at, but it's not as elevated. Like Americans, when they try to do that dry humor, it just ends up being like 30 Rock, where it's like it's still networky. It's why I don't like the US Office either. It's like it's still unnuanced and American and sitcom-y. Like, for example, if you look at the UK Office, the David Brent boss has a realistic, tragic edge to him that he seems like a real boss you would know. Whereas a Steve Carell boss is just basically Woody Harrelson from Cheers. He's just too dumb to breathe. There's no realistic, anything. Or the character Dwight, like Dwight is just basically a mental patient. He shouldn't be able to hold a job. And I feel like that's what American people do when they try to have that cutting edge. They have to render everything kind of theme parkish and cartoony. And I feel like Tina Fey is like that. Like she is not like if you take Phoebe Waller Bridge and Fleabag, that to me is what like the full extension of what a Tina Fey character needs to be funny to me. Like go full dark, full dry, full whatever. But Tina Fey is still twee while she's doing it, which yeah, UK Office was always much better. Yeah, SNL humor, but see, I don't mind SNL when see, it's not even SNL humor because SNL knows it's dumb. So SNL is like Chris Farley, Rob Schneider, Adam Sandler. Like I like that, but Tina Fey thinks she's smarter than SNL, so she's like trying to be um almost a British type of sophisticated wit, but she's really SNL. It's their level of self delusion that bothers me. Like I would rather just have American people doing pure SNL humor. That's what they're good at, rather than um someone doing SNL humor but thinking they're doing British humor, which is what I feel like The Office and Parks and Rec is. But yeah, so her voice was really bothering me. Not just her voice, like her tone. And Tina Fey does a lot of racist stuff in her writing and in her books and in her jokes. Like she has a lot of weird racist humor. And you can look up Tina Fey racist to hear people do compilations of all her racist jokes. She's had episodes of 30 Rock with blackface. Um yeah, she's used a lot of stereotypes in her stuff. She's done stuff um yes, I mean there's so many stories about how bad she is on race. So something about having her as a white woman co-lead the first black Pixar movie, I think takes away a lot. Like, why are you gonna have this snarky white liberal racist NPR wine mom lady, um, sharing the lead with a black man. Like, you can't just let a black man be the lead. Like, why not just put a black woman there or a black child? Like, they even make a big point to kind of hang a lampshade and take away some of the critique that she goes. He goes, "Why do you have a middle-aged white woman voice?" Right? Jamie Foxx says, and they just say this just to get it out of the way and dismiss it so they can continue the movie. And she's like, "Oh, I just do this voice because it annoys people, but I'm not really like a white woman. I could sound like this." And she sounds like different people. And she goes back to the white woman voice. She goes, "I just do this because it annoys people." It's kind of like a little Karen joke. Ha ha ha. Okay, but fine. You still gave. I don't care what the fake reason you gave is. You still chose to make it a white woman's voice. No throwaway line in a joke is going to change that this is a white woman's voice. No telling me, like, pointing out, yeah, she can do any voice. She just chooses this one. To me, just makes it even worse that you made it a white woman's voice. Pointing out, hey, we know her voice is annoying, just makes it worse that you still chose to use it anyway, right? So the whole time, um, this black guy has to share the movie with white lady NPR tote bag gentrifier voice in his ear the whole time. And excuse me, my bad. She's just super annoying and nagging and complaining the whole time. Then she takes over his body for like most of the movie. And for some reason, in all these animated movies, the black person is always either an animal the whole time or has to be in the body, switch to an animal. So with the Princess and the Frog, the first black Disney princess, she spends half the movie in a frog. There was a Will Smith one with Tom Holland where the black secret agent character is in a pigeon for like the whole movie. Shrek and Donkey, um, Robert Guillaume well, in that one everyone's an animal, but it's still part of the point. They're either in movies like Ice Age or um, Lion King or whatever, where everyone's an animal, for the whole movie or whatever, the zoo movie. So the black person animal in that, or it's a movie with humans, but the black person is playing a human, like like Sebastian the Crab or you know whatever. So everyone's human, but they put the black people in the non-human characters. Or it's a movie where the black person starts off as a human black person and then gets put into the body of something else. So that's that Will Smith secret agent Tom Holland movie, the Princess and the Frog, and this one. So yeah, they gentrified his body. Exactly. They gentrified his body. And so they gentrify his body. There's a white woman in his body, and this white woman proceeds to solve all his problems. Um with a little bit of common sense that he never had. She fixed a relationship with his mom. She does all this stuff, and she helps his student, does all these things with just a little bit of common sense. And I'm like, this feels like a weird like white savior narrative. And what was interesting is, and these are two really kind of racist tropes. And this movie, from what I understand, was written by three people, but two of them are white guys. They brought in the black person at the end, I think, to help add a little bit of authenticity. So you can kind of tell because this thing is really for the white gaze, but it's also shot through with a lot of whiteness. But like well-off, upper middle class, rich guy whiteness, like um Silicon Valley whiteness. Like it's just a very privileged white view. Some things they nailed, like the barbershop and stuff like that. I'll say that felt kind of authentically black. That was good. But a lot of the stuff, right? There's a lot of weird messaging in it. Let me see if I can try to um so first I was kind of like Get Out. Like look, Get Out was not gentrified black body commentary, but she's in this thing. She connects with his barber that he's been going to for years, like 30 seconds. And this black man has not been able to connect with this black male barber or asking questions about his life the whole time. You mean tell me Tina Fey, this white woman, who probably to me, she strikes me as the kind that will like, there ain't black people she really knows like the help really, and she's like her vibe. I'm not saying her personally, but her vibe. She's got that like uh, puts Black Lives Matter on her lawn in front of her brownstone, but then calls the cops on the kids walking by smoking weed. She's got that energy to me. I'm not saying her about her personally. I'm not calling her a racist, but she's got that energy. But you mean to me like this middle-aged white lady NPR wine mom voice. Um, she can connect with a black man better than a black man, or she can be the intermediary between two black men. Like it was, she wasn't really a sidekick. She was more like a co-lead, I would say. I thought she was um a side character, but she was a co-lead. But this really is written by two white guys, and they just hired a black guy just to sprinkle authenticity on key scenes. And maybe he's what helped the scenes that work, like the jazz club and the barbershop. But she put, and this was kind of interesting. This book that was kind of tropey about it. Like I always talk about on the podcast and different things, how in the white imagination, white people are rational and intellectually curious, whereas what non-white people bring to the table, especially black people, is they bring that kind of swag and they bring that emotional intelligence or the emotional authenticity or that spiritual enlightenment. That's why white people tend to be white saviors, because they have that intellect and curiosity and drive to make things better. Whereas black people tend to be magical Negroes. They come through when they are the conscience of the white people or the feeling machines. Like the white people are like hyper rational and um curious, intellectually curious. So even though to a certain degree, 22, Tina Fey's character, wasn't savvy, she had that kind of intellectual curiosity that got things solved. She was asking questions. She was being Socratic. So she asked the questions that extract from the barber everything about his life, and um, then ends up fixing that. She asked the guy questions about why the other guy is mean, and then she says the things out loud. And the other guy, she helps deliver a bird. Like she fixed all the guy's problems with her white intellect and um her white logic and her white curiosity. Even though she had like a childlike level of knowledge about Earth, she was a lot more rational in a lot of ways. The black guy pretty much wasn't curious about his barber, wasn't didn't really have much of a sense of curiosity or whatever, and couldn't really fix things. But but what his character does is teach her about emotion and spiritual stuff. So I was like, this is just the same old racist tropes. Like this is clearly suffused with whiteness. Another way the movie was kind of suffused with whiteness to me was the way that heaven looked, right? One thing if you notice about like it doesn't have a universal or enlightened view of heaven. Heaven is just like now. Heaven is just like today, and heaven is a corporation and a bureaucracy. And if you notice, white people tend to love making the metaphysical mundane and material. So if you look at things like The Good Place or this or a lot of other movies and shows, heaven is always just a big bureaucracy with a bunch of rules. And it's just got paperwork, bean counters, um, head counting, HR. And I'm like, this is what a clinical, boring way to look at such grand questions of the metaphysical. Like it's so bland and but that's not the way people are. They're very in their head, they're very intellectualized. They everything is like, cerebral and legalistic. That's another thing. Like heaven could be a courtroom, where you gotta litigate and the judge has to litigate whether you deserve to go back to earth. If you ever notice, they're always courtrooms, corporations, or bureaucracies, you know? Um and I'm like, this is just so boring and constricted. Like this is childlike warmth that masks a coldness was what it felt like to me, And I'm like, this is the biggest thing you can imagine the afterlife like. Like you can't think of anything bigger than um or like getting into like an exclusive club. That's what like heaven looks like. You gotta but the other reason why I think that appeals to white people is white people tend to like to think that their intellect or their rationale or their wiliness can get them out of any situation. So then everything becomes about as long as there's rules, then using my brain, I can come up with loopholes or catches or whatever. So then it becomes about tricking God or tricking the cosmic, which then renders the cosmic to something very mundane. Like it's like if you think you can trick God with loopholes and rules and fine print in a contract, then that's a very limited um kind of unimaginative, like it kind of shows how spiritually impaired you are. So this rule is all about trying to find loopholes so that they can both live and they can both think think things through. And so that alone kind of bored me. Like I'm like, you guys are so creative. You guys are so creative with the computer animation. Like it's beautiful. It's amazing. The visuals, everything is so wonderful. But you guys think like computer people. You guys think like Disney. You guys think like the Silicon Valley people probably helped develop the technology to build this stuff. Like you guys, you're showing who you really are beyond this kind of fake twee childlike warmth. It's just corporate thinking, legalistic thinking, Silicon Valley thinking, just writ large applied to cosmic questions. And I found that very dull and depressing. Like the rest of it was run of the mill, save the cat, hero's journey, structured morality tale. Like it wasn't really, it had its moments, but for something called soul, I didn't think it had that much soul. It wasn't that black. We didn't really get much of the black world. Like we got his mother and his family, but we don't get a real relationship between them really, except for like he dies. We have no idea what that would do to his family because they don't even know he's in the hospital. It comes back to life. He has a one or two heart-to-heart conversations with stuff. And also what they kind of show about black maleness, right? The mother is the one who works, not the father. The father is kind of shown to have never been able to have been a provider. So when Tina Fey, through the white lady's voice, is talking to the black woman who is the mother of the Jamie Foxx character, Felicia Rashad, as the older mother character, is talking about how she wanted him to get a good job and didn't want to do this stuff because she had to pay the bills. The black man, chasing his dreams or whatever, at least it wasn't a deadbeat. He was there, but he could never ever provide. He could never ever do anything. And she was like, it's different for you because my father at least had me, but you didn't have anyone. And first off, I'm thinking, if you could support your dad with the shop, why can't you support your actual kid? Because to me, supporting your husband is not as bad as supporting your kid. You're supposed to support your kid. So it's kind of weird that she's acting like she can't support him and his dream, but it's natural to support her husband, right? But she says the reason why she didn't want to chase his dreams because he didn't have a wife to support him. So it kind of implies that black men aren't meant to provide for themselves. In the black community, the black woman wears the pants and does the providing, to the point that the guy's father was a non-provider, provided for by his wife, and the wife also expects the son to be provided for by a wife. She's not raising the son to be a provider. She's raising him to also be dead weight. It's almost expected. And the only reason why he has to get a respectable job, in her words, is because he hasn't found a woman to provide for him and mooch off of. So it's like, and I feel like, okay, that's a very white way of looking at things. A very Moynihan report. And I mean, so this white woman is taking up all this space. It's the first black lead, and more than half of the movie, the first black male lead, his body is being occupied by a white woman, and he's an animal. So basically, the first black lead is a white woman for the most part. And I'm like, he had to share the space with a white woman, and they try to work around it. And the fact that they put this cheesy excuse just makes me know that they knew what they were doing was wrong. Oh, she's not really a white woman. Souls don't have colors. Okay, but for all intents and purposes, she's a white woman. She feels like a white woman. She talks like a white woman. She's got plenty of white entitlement. Like, they make a deal. She says she claims she hates Earth, right? But then when the time comes, she reneges on the deal and feels entitled to, and runs away with the black man's body. I mean, if anything, screams like entitled white woman. Like, that is that, like, the entitlement to just change her mind, renege on a deal, and then still get rewarded at the end. Like, the guy sacrifices his soul for her. I mean, and I think that would only work with Tina Fey's voice. It wouldn't have worked with Tiffany Haddish's voice or a black woman's voice, because when the black woman ever feel be that entitled with anything, you know? Um and I mean, there was a couple of things, right? Like, the fact that she was able to develop so long, she was in heaven, just not cooperating, being entitled, being spoiled, and whatever, and being annoying and as she could, and stuck as a child, never allowed to be born, never allowed to. She was indulged for that long, and not tasked to be productive, while she waited to find her spark, right? Which I thought was very white woman, very entitled. Like, she can just spend all this time not finding her her spark, but everyone kind of exists to help her find her spark. And while she's being helped to find her spark, she's allowed to break her word, and there's no consequences for breaking her word. Like, everyone just laughs it off and forgives her, and helps her. Like she there's no narrative consequence for not keeping her word. And someone in the YouTube comment I saw said, historically, we are told it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind, but when do black women ever have such agency? And I felt like that was a very much a unconscious moment of white entitlement that they kind of throw it in there. And and the black mother makes it seem like she's pretty sure his talent will never be self-sustaining, and that she expects him to be with a woman who'll take care of him again, which is like weird man-child, black man, non-provider messaging that is in there. And in that one scene, like, the viewers is informed of the performative role of black women as the financial support for black men, the failure of black men to be self-supporting, let alone providers in the black family, and then resentment of black women toward black men, all in one scene. That was this comment by someone named Don over at this Yvette Carnell video about this. I didn't finish watching the video that she did about it, but I did see that comment, and it was just all very white feminist messaging. And to me, this movie would have worked better if they made 22 a black woman's voice or a black child's voice. I just don't get why this had to be split 50-50 with the white woman, and then the black man put in an animal's body, and then all we get is a henpecking black woman who resents black men but also financially supports them. Like horrible messaging. Um, and I feel like doing Tina's Fey's voice with a black woman or black child would have undone the added effect of having a white woman in the mix, always saying the right thing and having more of a connection to the black man than any of the actual black women in the thing. You know, it it would have made it more like more black bonding, but instead, all the bonding between the black man and the white woman of depth, and all the black man's world is very passing and fleeting and stereotypical. You know, stereotypical black barber, stereotypical um kind of Jezebel, uh sapphire type of black women in the it was I wasn't crazy about it. I'll just say I liked how it looked. I thought it was schmaltzy. And then at the end of the movie, he sacrifices himself for 22, who was annoying and didn't and difficult and didn't almost didn't keep her word. And the original ending I found out was that he dies and goes to heaven. So he sacrifices his life for the white woman. And then which I thought would have been pretty terrible messaging. Like, because I feel like a lot of movies, black value comes not from what you can do for black people, but the value of a black character is what you can do to help whiteness actualize and level up and achieve itself. So black characters, their value comes from being a Christ-like figure that is willing to suffer at the hands of the white person and redeem white sin through their Christ-like sacrifice and dying, right? So they, by being the bigger person and suffering in dignity, and even dying in dignity, to be the conscious and the better person than the white person and help turn white people around. That's one way that they could be a good character and redeem whiteness, or by being the magical Negro that is a conscience or the advice or the emotional actualization of the white person. They can do that, or they can help them achieve their dreams. Like the guy in American History X that protected the white supremacist through his whole prison stay, or Jolene in Queen's Gambit that gave her life savings to send her to the chess tournament to send Beth. And this was to me the same thing. Like this guy, so they changed one bad ending, which is that black people, their worth comes from their willingness to sacrifice. Another example is Defiant Ones, where Sidney Poitier jumps off the train to help Tony Curtis so that Tony Curtis doesn't get busted alone, even though Sidney Poitier was scot-free to escape prison. Like, so that's self-sacrifice where he kills himself to give the white girl a chance to be born, even though she's wasted so many centuries not getting her act together. But whatever. Um, and he was gonna die, and that's gonna be the end. They decided it was too dark, so then what they decided to do instead, he does all that. He gives up his life so that she could be born. And this is another reason why I think the whole she's not white, she could be anything, she just chooses this voice is bullshit, is they could have shown her being born as something. And they didn't show her what she became when she actually got a body and was born. And the reason why I think is because we all know unconsciously she's gonna be born as a white woman. She's white. She's not gonna be born as a black boy. She's not gonna be born. She's gonna be born as a white woman. So rather than make that explicit by showing her born as a white person, or rather than undo it, because if they show her being born as anything other than a white woman, then they really might invalidate the power of her presence as a white woman throughout the movie, because they really want you to feel her as a white woman. They just never show what she's born as. That just adds another hint that that's BS about, oh, she's not really a white woman. That's just how your mind perceives her, or whatever. But um, so now he does all the same stuff. He sacrifices himself for her to be born. He's about to go to heaven, but now the higher powers come and show up and say, hey, you've done something that so inspired us that we're going to give you a second chance at life. So in a way, it almost makes the problem worse. A black man helping a white woman and sacrificing himself for a white woman is something so powerful and unique and insanely next level good in these people's mind that heaven hasn't seen anything that great before. This impresses eternity, like actual eternity, actual people who have seen everything, who have a cosmic understanding of emotion in the universe to a level that we as limited humans can never see. That's how powerful black male self-sacrifice for the white woman is. It actually moved people who have literally seen everything there is to see, and they have seen every single life story. That's how powerful a black man sacrificing for a white woman is. Uh, that they're willing to break the rules of life and death itself and to get him off the conveyor belt. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, that is my big destiny as a black man. That is the most powerful thing I could do. Not do anything for my family, my mother, my wife, nothing. The biggest thing I could do, to the point that it's gonna, and if look at this is white heaven. This heaven is not an all-inclusive. It's not a world heaven. God is white in this place. God is white, and he's a capitalist, and he's a consumer. And you know, it's depressing to me that this is the heaven that's gonna wait for me. That I have to live in this world on the mortal coil, and then my eternity is going to be this world that's run by bean counting white people with abacuses and human resource department who are going to judge my worth as a very soul, my very life to my very right to eternity, my very right to a second life, based on how much I sacrificed for white people. I mean, this movie was so white. I could not. Um, I mean, yeah, in the white mind, but this is extrapolating the white mind into the hereafter and the eternity. Like, you can't escape white hegemony anywhere, even in the afterlife. It was yeah, all bird watchers go to heaven. Yeah, he's basically caping for the white woman, like that bird watching guy. Yeah. Not since Crispus Attucks has the world seen yada. Yeah, so it's a pretty movie. I don't like the messaging. I don't like all that. And a lot of the I don't like the limited imagination of what heaven is. Everything in heaven is white. Everything in heaven, um, there's a hippie guy. The hippie guy is the highest manifestation of spirituality. He's the person that could get the souls in and out, not a Hindu yogi, not an African um village magician, not a black voodoo priest. A a boomer is the highest level of nirvana and spiritual understanding. Yeah, I mean, this thing cannot think bigger than whiteness and capitalism, its ability to conceptualize anything, even the afterlife and eternity. Like, it can't think beyond bureaucracy, can't think beyond the human resource department, can't think beyond the tech startup. Like, a lot of it felt like a tech startup. It was just cold, but pretending to be had a fake superficial motions of warmth, but it was very cold and calculated to me. But it was beautiful as a technically done thing. I just was not as impressed with it as everyone else was. I was not as touched by it. It felt very emotionally manipulative to me. A lot of weird little stereotypes too, like that he's in the jazz class and the Asian girl is the best jazz person. And I feel like the Asian kid overachieving was like a stereotype. And there's a weird determinism in the movie too, where people's personalities are determined from before they're born. So there's kind of this weird determinism that you can't escape. You're born with your personality. I thought it was a weird messaging that people were given the personalities in heaven, and then that's determined in their souls, and then they get sent the soul with a pre-baked in personality. I'm like, this is almost like a type of determinism. I wouldn't call it genetic, but maybe spiritual or emotional. So, like, what about their brains too? Are they born with? It was just weird. I don't know. There's like a Karen joke in it, which I thought was stupid. Because to me, if you're self-aware enough to do a Karen joke, then just hire a black woman for the role. This would have been much better with a black man and a black woman in the role, I thought. And would have gave more depth and reality to the idea that this is the first black Pixar movie or the first black led Pixar movie. Because now, even if she gets half the movie or more than half the movie, it's still black led. Um, yeah, I mean that was basically it. It was nice to look at, but I think I'd rather rewatch Wonder Woman 84 than watch Soul. I just wasn't crazy about it. Yeah, not only is everyone in heaven white, but American white. You know, spiritual eugenics. Yeah, the movie was just too infused by this presentist, solutionist, corporatist, capitalist white mindset, and it couldn't think about anything bigger than that, and it rendered everything else problematic. It couldn't even render black people outside of how they appear to white people and what the purpose is to white people. It's yeah, it just gives Pixar cover to do white stories. I think that's fair. Someone told me that there's another movie called Inside Out that covers the exact same stuff. So let's say just made a half black version of Inside Out. I wasn't particularly impressed, but anyway, we're gonna be streaming every day, and it's gonna be different levels. But we're trying to get to 10,000 users. We're like at close to 2,000 now. We're between 1,000 and 2,000, but we want to get 10,000 subscribers. So we're gonna stream every day for a while. I don't know if I can stream every day until we hit 10,000, but we're gonna aim for it. We're gonna rotate it out with everybody. It's not just gonna be me. It's gonna be Vita, Kenny, Mario. So some days it won't be me. We're gonna try to do it every day. But a big thing you can do: get your friends to subscribe. If you know people who like YouTube channels, get them subscribed. We want to really get the subscriber count up to 10,000. You want to get 5-digit subscriber count, no matter how long it takes. And we're just gonna flood it with content till then. Some days, like I said, be 5 minutes. Some days might be 3-4 hours. We'll play around, but we're gonna try to do it at least once a day. And also, if you haven't yet, hit up the super chat, hit up the stream. But also, we have other ways for people who don't have Google Pay set up. We know people who have said that they want to subscribe or help, but they don't have it set up to Google Chat, or they don't want to do Google. You can also do Venmo or Cash App Champagne Sharks. That's an option too. So feel free if you want to donate money through Venmo, through Cash App. Feel free to do so. You can do it Champagne Sharks. You can also do it at PayPal at this link, paypal.me Champagne Sharks, or use this email address for PayPal. You can PayPal us here, champagnesharks@gmail.com. If you want to just email us there and just share some thoughts with us, you can email us there too. But you can PayPal us at champagnesharks@gmail.com or at this address, paypal.me/champagne sharks, or Venmo or Cash App. Hit us at Champagne Sharks. You can support us there those ways, in addition to the super chat that's at the bottom of the chat. If you look at the live chat on the side, the super chat, the super stickers. In addition to that, you can do the Venmo and Cash App, or you can PayPal us at this address or on this site. And of course, our Patreon. We have multiple options now. You can do it $5 a month. You get newsletter, show notes, bonus episodes. You get double the episodes. You get access to the Discord voice and chat server, and you get the opportunity to be invited to Clubhouse, the new social media app that's invite only. But Champagne Sharks patrons, we are giving you guys invites to that if you become a patron by going into the Discord, because we're trying to build a weekly show in there. It's going to be almost like a call-in show, but it's be a giant group conversation. And Clubhouse is set up to do that. We've started doing that with patrons already, and they've been pretty good. And we want to get like triple digit Champagne Sharks fans over in Clubhouse. We can have some big rooms, chop it up real big, and do some think tank stuff and look some fun stuff. We can build on some pretty good conversations in Clubhouse. So that's another reason why you should become a patron. So again, $5 a month or a 10% discount if you do annual, $54, and that's less than $5 a month. So I think that's everything. That's my thought on Soul, on Wonder Woman 84, and other stuff. Yeah, book club is back on this weekend, and yeah. So another thing you can do is if you cannot donate in any shape or form, if you can't hit the super chat if you're enjoying the stream, you can't do the Cash App or Venmo or any of that stuff. The next best thing you can do is like, comment, share, subscribe. You cannot say enough. Help us get our follower counts up. Everyone in the room, feel free to like it. But if you don't like it, well, actually, no. In addition to liking it, share it with someone. If you got someone who likes thought provoking stuff, someone who will agree with this stuff, someone who will disagree with this stuff, share it with them. Let's get the follower count up. We're on the road to 10,000. That's what we're doing right now. So we're doing daily streams until we hit 10,000 subscribers or until we just burn out, whichever one comes first. That's what we're going to do. So thanks, everyone. Um, Become a patron, patreon.com/champagne sharks. And yeah, we really appreciate you guys. We never take you for granted. We love you guys, always coming and helping out and kicking it with us. So yeah, keep your eyes open for a lot of great episodes, a lot of great guests. All right, be good. Take care.